Okay, in this video we're going to go over how to do a new production order in Influence FM, and we're going to be doing a standard production order. So there's standard and there's pre-produced. A pre-produced ad is an ad you might get from your agency or any ad that's absolutely 100% done. You don't need a tag, you don't need anything done to it. Standard PO is something to where you actually need to get a commercial made. So I'm going to click on New, this big green button in the top left hand corner, and then I'm going to click on New PO. We're going to click on that, and then it asks me to choose my customer, and then I'm going to choose standard PO. You can see over here, here's pre-produced. We're going to do that in another video. I'm going to do standard PO. Now, I want to be really clear on this. The production order system is very flexible and configurable, meaning there can be things that are added to the system that you may or may not see. For instance, if you don't have copywriters at your company, you're not going to have a write by day option. You're also not going to have the copy points field. Another optional field is the schedule. So the start and end date, and then what stations it runs on. Some stations like to add this in the beginning. Some stations don't do it till the end when the traffic is done. So if you don't have some of these fields, don't worry about it. Either one, your manager decided they didn't want it, or they don't realize that that's a feature in the system. And if you need that in the system, make sure you let your manager know, and then we can turn on that feature for you in Influence FM. So I selected my customer. Now I need to put in the copy title. I encourage you to name your copy something very specific, because you can always use it again in the future. You may get a customer that says, hey, run that ad from last summer about the jet skis. Okay, if you name them something generic, it's going to be hard for you to find it again in the future and use it again. So we're going to say this, summer 2017 jet ski giveaway. Okay? Now, how long is the ad? You can just highlight in here. We have these up and down arrows. I find them pretty useless, but you can actually highlight this and just change that to a 60 if you need to, or whatever length you need. And then what's the cell style? Hard, medium, or soft? Now on cell styles, this is the how much energy is in the ad. For instance, a hard sell would be like a monster truck rally ad, or maybe the circus is coming to town. Your soft sells would be your Mother's Day ads, your Valentine's Day ads, soft spoken, easy music, and so on. Probably most of the time you'll do medium sell. And then how many voices are you going to need for this ad? If you have a male voice and a female voice, it's going to be 2. If you have a mom, a dad, and a kid, it's going to be 3 voices, and so on. So we'll just leave it on 1 for now. And then if you have a copywriter at your company that writes your copy for you, you're going to click on Write by Date. And you say you need it by Friday. Now when do you actually need it produced by? Everybody's going to have a produced by date. Okay, so that's when you actually need the ad made, completed, ready to go. Now, is it a co-op or not? If you don't know what co-op is and you're new to radio, make sure you talk to your manager, have them explain it to you. But real quickly, it basically means that there's 2 people paying for this ad. And then the cart number. This can be omitted until the very end. Some stations put in the cart number at the beginning. Some people do it in traffic. It can be done at any stage in the system. So you can ignore it for now if you don't put in your cart numbers. So just know that this can be omitted until it needs to be entered. So it doesn't need to be entered right now if your station doesn't require it. And then talent. So this is a recommendation from you as the sales rep to the producer as to who should cut the ad. So if you like Misty's voice, say you want Misty to do it. However, ultimately the production director decides who cuts the ad. So this is just a recommendation. And then does it need a jingle, tag, music bed, or other? If you don't know what a jingle or tag is, talk to your managers. They can explain that to you. But let's just say it needs a music bed, so I need some music in the background. And then the instructions here, I'm going to say rock music, please. And maybe lots of guitar. Whatever you want in there. And then you could add more instructions in here if you need to. So this could be anything from the music bed to the kind of energy you want. Really any instruction that's outside of what you put in the copy you would put up here. And then pronunciations. Okay, this is real handy if you're sending your production order to someone that's not in your neck of the woods. They don't know how to pronounce a word. For instance, I'm in Lake Havasu City in Arizona. Havasu always gets slaughtered, so we spell it out phonetically there. Now, you notice I can drag these boxes down. Anywhere you see these little lines in the bottom right corner of the box, you can drag and expand these. Now, if you have a copywriter, you'd put your copy points in the copy points. So you would put in the details for the copywriter so they can write the ad for you. If you don't have a copywriter, you're not even going to see this field here. Okay? Now, if you don't have a copywriter, you're going to write your copy. And I recommend you write all your copy in this. Don't do it in a Word doc. Don't do it in your email. Do it right in here because there's a copy counter for you. Now you look in the top right-hand corner, and it's starting to count for us. So this is real nice because now you don't have to write copy that's too long or too short. You know exactly how long it's going to be. So I'm just going to paste in here. And I chose a 30-second spot, so I need to get it up to 30 seconds. Now, depending on your company, you may have a little leeway. At our radio stations, we allow them to have the reps to have 2 extra seconds. So I can actually write this 32 seconds, and it will still let me submit it. So you'll want to check with your managers, or you can just test it out when you do new production orders. See how far you can go. It'll actually tell you. Here, I'll show you. I'm going to go ahead and put it up to 35 seconds, and it will tell you when I hit apply here. It'll say copies too long. Estimated 35 seconds. Oh, it looks like we changed ours to 31 actually. So I'm allowed 31 seconds. So I know I need to get this down to 31 seconds. Okay? And you can actually go under too. Sometimes you do want the ad to be under if you want it to be a slower read, if you have to put a jingle in there, and so on. Now, before we move past the copy box, we have F2 to insert a comment. So this allows you to put comments in the ads at certain places. So for instance, if it's Christmas time, and at this point, right here in the ad, I need jingle bells. I'm going to press the F2 button. So everything you put between the brackets is not going to count against your time. So I can say, okay, need jingle bells and Santa laughing. Okay, and you can put as many of those as you want in there, and it's not going to count against your time. Now down below, if you don't have this turned on, don't worry about it unless you need this. Make sure you talk to your manager. They can get a hold of us, and we can turn on this feature to where you have the start date, end date, and what stations it runs on. And this is going to carry over to the traffic order. Okay, but I'm going to say, okay, it starts on the 17th and it ends on the 31st. And then what stations does it run on? I can click on all stations and it'll put all the stations into my company in there. And I can delete the ones I don't want to use. So maybe I want all those, but I just don't want it to run on KJJJ. I can do that. Now another option is, let me get rid of all of them here, is to just do one at a time. And to do one at a time, you just simply click in the box and it then will show you a list of all your stations. So let's say K-Hits. And then at this point, I can also upload a file. If you don't see this upload file feature, that means that your company hasn't hooked up either your Dropbox or your Google Drive account to Influence FM. So you need to make sure that that's hooked up. If you don't have that hooked up, again, talk to your manager, have them get a hold of us, and we'll make sure that that gets hooked up. But at this point, you typically wouldn't upload anything, but maybe you do. Maybe you want to upload the instructions from the agency or anything else on there. Do know, on production orders, you can upload any kind of file you want, as many files as you want. Now this is real handy, especially to production directors. If they do a really complex ad, like for instance a monster truck rally ad that has all kinds of voices, all kinds of sound effects, they can upload all those, what they call session files, or some people call them DAW files, and you can upload that whole ad there and all the sound effects and everything. So if the next year comes around and that customer wants the same ad but they just need a few details changed, your production director can download all those files and remix the ad very easily without having to redo the whole thing. So note that you can upload as many files as you want, any kind of file you want, and I encourage you to do that. If you have multiple files for a production order and there's a lot of details to it, upload all the files to this production order and then they're there forever. You'll be able to come find this production order 10 years from now and all your files are right there. You can remake the ad and you have everything you need right there in one system. It's also nice if you're sick as a sales rep or the production director's sick. They don't have to try and track down all these files on all these different computers. It's all right here in the cloud, attached to that specific production order. Now down at the bottom here, you have some last minute instructions that you want to put in. Now these down here, it was a feature asked for by a few people because they said they'd get to the bottom and just forget to put in the instructions. It's the same thing as this box up here, is what happens when we submit this. When it goes to the next status, it's going to put those notes down there up here. and just put them down below the first notes you put in. So it's just kind of a reminder spot if you don't remember to put instructions up here. Okay, so now I could save changes and this would save it in the drafts, or I can go ahead and send it to the copywriter. Now, if you don't have a copywriter, yours is going to say send to be produced. So it's just going to say send to be produced. So you would hit apply, it would send it to the producer. But if you do have a copywriter, it's going to ask you who you want to send it to in the company, which copywriter. You just select them and then you hit apply, and then that's it. It then goes to the copywriter and they write the ad. It then comes back to you for approval, and it works down. It runs down the production line. Now, if you have the rights, you can skip steps. So maybe at your company you do have a copywriter, but you decided to write this ad on your own. As long as you have the rights to do so, again, the system is very configurable, and if you have the rights to do so, you can skip steps. So you can say, okay, I want to send this right to be produced. You can do that. If you can't select anything in here, it means you do not have the rights. If you need to be able to skip steps, make sure you talk to your manager, and again, that can be adjusted. So let's go ahead and send this to the copywriter. Let's select the copywriter and let's just say it's Alan, and then hit apply. And that's it. It now moves to the copywriter status here. There it is. And you'll see under here, here's the status timeline. There it is. And it's in the copywriter status right here. So that's how you do a production order. We're going to be going over more features in the system in future videos. The next video will be about doing a pre-produced, and that's going to be really short and sweet.